When was the last time you truly allowed yourself to remain in sujood just a little longer than usual? Not the quick prostration you complete because it is required, not the one you rush through while your mind is already preparing for the next movement, but the one where your forehead rests on the ground and something inside your chest begins to soften. There is a secret hidden inside sujood. The lowest physical position your body can take becomes the highest spiritual position your soul can reach. Think about that carefully. When you stand in prayer, there is dignity. When you bow, there is humility. But when you go into sujood, there is surrender. And surrender is powerful. The messenger of Allah taught us that the closest a servant comes to his Lord is while he is in sujood, not while speaking loudly, not while being seen, not while impressing anyone. But when the forehead touches the earth, closeness is not connected to visibility. It is connected to vulnerability, and sujood is vulnerability in its purest form. Now imagine that same sujood inside Ramadan. You are fasting. Your body feels the hunger. Your throat feels the dryness. Your energy is lower than usual. Your pride is already quieter. Your desires have been restrained for hours. Ramadan softens you before you even enter prayer. And then you descend into sujood. That moment carries a different weight. Hunger humbles you. Fasting weakens your physical strength, but it strengthens your awareness. It reminds you that you are not self-sufficient. It reminds you that you are dependent. And dependence is not weakness in front of Allah. It is honesty. When you are in sujood during Ramadan, there is no performance left. There is no audience. There is no need to appear strong. You are lowered. You are small. You are dependent. And that is exactly the state that brings you closer to Him. Allah says in the Quran, and prostrate and draw near. Notice the order. First you lower yourself, then you are elevated. Closeness is attached to surrender. The world teaches you to rise by standing taller, but Allah teaches you to rise by lowering yourself. In sujood, the part of you that carries pride rests on the earth. The part of you that wants control is pressed into the ground. The part of you that says, I can handle this alone, becomes silent. Sujood breaks the illusion of self-sufficiency, and Ramadan prepares the heart for that breaking. Outside Ramadan, distractions are louder. Outside Ramadan, desires are stronger. Outside Ramadan, the ego resists more. But during Ramadan, your nafs is softer. Your appetite is restrained. Your arrogance is weaker. So when you enter sujood in this month, the heart opens more easily. There are du'as that are spoken casually. There are words that are whispered without focus. But the du'a made in sujood while fasting, while feeling weak, while your heart is open, that du'a is different. It rises from a place of surrender. It rises from a place where there is no pretending left. When you are strong, you may negotiate with Allah. When you're confident, you may ask with conditions. But when you are broken, you simply ask, and brokenness in sujood is beautiful. Think about the moments when life felt too heavy, when no advice helped, when no solution appeared, when no one understood what you were carrying. Where does the heart turn in those moments? Upward. But one of the closest ways to reach upward is to go downward into sujood. The deeper you lower yourself before Allah, the more He lifts what is inside you. Sujood is not just a movement between actions. It is not a transition. It is intimacy. It is where tears fall unseen. It is where words come out unplanned. It is where the heart speaks before the tongue organizes sentences. In sujood, the conversation becomes personal. There is something else we must understand. Pride is one of the biggest barriers between a servant and his Lord. Pride says, I can fix this myself. I don't need help. I am in control. But sujood quietly dismantles pride. When your face is on the ground, you cannot feel superior to anyone. When your forehead is pressed to the earth, you cannot pretend you are self-made. You become small in the most honest way. And that smallness is not humiliation. It is safety. It is truth. It is the place where the heart stops acting and starts returning. Ramadan intensifies this return because fasting trains you in patience. It trains you to say no. It trains you to control what you normally obey. And when patience combines with sujood, something powerful happens. Allah says, seek help through patience and prayer. Fasting is patience. Salah is prayer. And sujood is the heart of that prayer. So when patience and sujood meet in Ramadan, the heart is positioned for transformation. You are already in obedience because you are fasting. You have already left something halal for His sake. You have already restrained your desires for hours. Then you fall into sujood and speak to Him. That combination is heavy with sincerity. You are tired, you are fasting. You are standing in prayer, and then you descend into suj and whisper your needs. There is no energy left to pretend. There is no strength left to act strong. There is only truth, and Allah loves truth from His servants. Sujood in Ramadan is layered. It carries hunger, it carries humility, it carries sacrifice. And when these layers rise together, the dua that comes from them is not light. It carries weight. But here is the question. How do you actually make dua and sujood in a way that is real? Slow down your breathing. Let your forehead rest completely. Do not treat sujood as a quick checkpoint. Stay there. Let your body become still. When the body becomes still, the heart follows. Speak to Allah in the language that carries your real emotions. If you are afraid, say you are afraid. If you are confused, admit you are confused. If you are exhausted from carrying something alone, say that. Be specific. Do not just say, fix my life. Tell Him what feels broken. Mention the names that keep you awake at night. Mention the sins you are struggling to leave. Mention the doors that feel closed. Specific dua shows vulnerability, and vulnerability in sujood is powerful. If tears come, let them come. If they do not come, do not force them. Sincerity is not measured by volume. Sometimes the quietest whisper carries the greatest weight. And do not rush to rise. Many people make one sentence and lift their head immediately. Stay a little longer. Repeat your dua. Call upon Allah by His beautiful names. Let those names soften your heart. Let your forehead remain on the ground long enough for your chest to empty itself. Sometimes the difference between an ordinary prayer and a life-changing one is just a few extra seconds in sujood. And in Ramadan, those seconds are multiplied in meaning. When you rise from sujood, you may not see your circumstances change immediately, but something inside you has shifted. You have admitted your need. You have broken your pride. You have chosen surrender over control. And that is never small. Now, there is something we need to speak about honestly. What happens when you make dua in sujood during Ramadan and nothing appears to change? You stayed longer. You whispered sincerely. You cried. You asked with a heart that felt completely open. But the next day, the problem is still there. The pain is still present. The door is still closed. This is where many hearts become tired. This is where whispers of doubt begin. You start asking yourself, did Allah hear me? Was I sincere enough? Am I being ignored? But listen carefully. Delay is not rejection. Silence is not abandonment. And stillness is not neglect. The Prophet Zan taught that a servant's dua continues to be answered as long as he does not become impatient. And impatience is not asking again. Impatience is giving up. Impatience is saying, I asked and nothing happened, so what is the point? But think deeply about this. If every dua were answered instantly, would your heart return as often? If every door opened immediately, would you still lower your forehead night after night? Sometimes the waiting is part of the mercy. Imagine placing a seed into the ground. From the surface, nothing seems to be happening. Days pass. The soil looks the same. Beneath that soil, something unseen is forming. Roots are stretching. Depth is being built. Strength is developing. If the seed could speak, it might say, I see no change, But the one who planted it knows what is happening below the surface. Your dua and sujud is like that seed. You may not see movement above the ground, but something is forming beneath the surface of your life. Sometimes Allah changes your situation. Sometimes He changes you. And sometimes the greatest transformation is not the removal of the problem, but the strengthening of the heart carrying it. There are duas that are answered immediately. There are duas that are delayed for wisdom. And there are duas that are stored for a day when you will need them more than you can imagine. But none of them are ignored. When you whisper in sujood during Ramadan, you are not speaking into emptiness. You are speaking to the one who hears before the words are completed. He knows the tone of your voice. He knows the tremble in your chest. He knows the tears you tried to hide. So if nothing changes outwardly, do not assume nothing happened. Something always happens when a servant lowers himself sincerely. Even if the world remains the same, the heart is not the same. And sometimes Allah keeps the difficulty in your life because that difficulty keeps you in sujood. If the pain disappeared too quickly, would you still return in the same way? If the need was fulfilled instantly, would your reliance deepen the same way? There is a form of closeness that only develops during waiting, a kind of love that grows between a servant and his Lord when he keeps coming back, even without visible results. Night after night, sujood after sujood, whisper after whisper, faith is not proven when everything moves according to your plan. Faith is proven when you keep your forehead on the ground, even when the outcome is unclear. When you say, Ya Allah, I still trust you. Trust is heavier than quick answers. Trust says, even if I do not understand, I believe you do. Trust says, even if this remains for now, I know there is wisdom. And Ramadan is the perfect training ground for this trust, because fasting itself teaches you delayed gratification. You feel hunger, but you wait. You feel thirst, but you wait. You feel weakness, but you endure. From sunrise to sunset, you are practicing patience. So when you make dua in sujood during Ramadan, you are already in a state of trained patience. Your body understands waiting. Your heart understands restraint. And that makes your trust stronger. There is something else we often forget. Sometimes we ask for things that, if granted exactly as requested, would have harmed us. But we cannot see that from where we stand. We see the present moment. Allah sees the full timeline. We see the emotion. Allah sees the consequence. You might ask for a door to open, but behind that door may be something that breaks you. You might ask for a relationship to remain, but its continuation may slowly destroy your peace. You might ask for wealth, but that wealth may distance your heart. And because Allah is merciful, He protects you by delaying or redirecting. Protection does not always feel like relief. Sometimes it feels like frustration. But years later, you look back and realize the door that did not open saved you, the path that closed preserved you, the delay shaped you, and there is a day coming when every dua will be accounted for. Imagine standing before Allah and seeing mountains of reward from prayers you thought were unanswered, moments of sujood you forgot about, tears you thought went unnoticed, whispers you assumed disappeared into silence, and you will realize nothing was wasted. There is a narration that when people see the rewards of unanswered duas in the hereafter, they will wish that none of their prayers had been answered in this world, because the stored reward is greater than the temporary relief. So when you rise from sujood and the situation remains unchanged, do not let your heart become heavy with doubt. Let it become heavy with trust. Keep returning, keep lowering yourself, keep speaking, because the act of returning is itself beloved. Allah does not tire of hearing you, but we tire of asking. Allah does not grow impatient, but we grow restless. And Ramadan is teaching you endurance, endurance in hunger, endurance in thirst, endurance in worship, endurance in dua. Sujood becomes the place where that endurance is expressed, where you say, I am still here. I am still asking. I am still trusting. And even if the answer is delayed, the closeness is immediate. You may not receive what you want yet, but you receive nearness. You receive humility. You receive purification. And sometimes the greatest gift is not the removal of the burden, but the strengthening of the shoulders carrying it. There is also another reality. Sometimes Allah answers your dua, but in a form you did not recognize. You asked for ease, and He gave you strength. You asked for the problem to disappear, and He gave you patience to outgrow it. You asked for clarity, and He gave you resilience while confusion remained. Answers do not always arrive in the packaging we expect, but they arrive. And Ramadan intensifies this awareness because when you are fasting, your heart is more sensitive, your ego is quieter, your distractions are reduced. You become more aware of subtle changes inside yourself. The irritation that once controlled you softens, the anger that once exploded reduces, the anxiety that once consumed you becomes manageable. And you realize something is changing. Maybe not the outside, but the inside. And that inside shift is sometimes the real response to your sujood. The world measures success by speed, but Allah measures sincerity by consistency. So do not measure your dua by how quickly things move. Measure it by how consistently you return to the ground. Every time you lower your forehead, something is being recorded. Every whisper is written. Every tear is counted. Every second you remain longer than necessary carries weight. Ramadan is not just a month of hunger, it is a month of reshaping the heart. And Suj is the tool that reshapes it if you truly understood how much happens in the unseen when you remain in Suj. You would never rush it again. You would not treat it as your safest place. Because even when nothing changes around you, you are changing. And sometimes that is the beginning of everything. There is another level to sujood in Ramadan that many people only taste once a year. The sujood of the night, when the world becomes quiet, when the lights are dim, when conversations have ended, when notifications stop, when most people are asleep, and you stand, maybe your body feels heavy, maybe your eyes are tired, maybe your day was long, maybe your energy is not perfect, but something inside you is awake. You begin to pray. The room is silent. There is no audience. No one is watching how long you stand. No one is measuring how beautifully you recite. No one is impressed. It is just you and Allah. And then you go into Suj. The Suj feels different. The night carries a softness that the day does not carry. During the day, life pulls at you. Responsibilities surround you. Voices fill your space. Your mind is divided. But at night, especially in Ramadan, there is stillness. And stillness makes sincerity louder. When your forehead touches the ground in the quiet of the night, your heart speaks differently. There is no rush to finish. There is no pressure to move quickly. You can remain there. You can breathe slowly. You can whisper without interruption. Sometimes the words come clearly. Sometimes they come broken. Sometimes you do not even know what to say. Sometimes you only cry. And sometimes you just remain there in silence because silence itself feels like conversation. Those Judes in the night shape destinies. You may not realize it, but decisions about your life may be unfolding while you are lowered on the ground. Mercy may be descending while you feel weak. Angels may be recording tears you thought were unnoticed. There is something powerful about choosing Allah when no one else sees you. Sincerity is tested when there is no audience. Anyone can pray beautifully when others are watching. But when you wake up from sleep, leaving the comfort of your bed, leaving warmth, leaving rest, just to stand before your Lord, that is different. And when you fall into sujood after that effort, it carries a weight that cannot be measured. Ramadan trains you for this. Your sleep schedule changes, your nights become alive. You begin to feel a connection to hours that were once empty. And in those hours, sujood becomes deeper. Think about Laylatul Qadr, a night better than 1,000 months, a night where destinies are written. You may enter sujood on that night without knowing. You may whisper a dua that shifts your future without realizing. You may cry over something small while Allah is preparing something immense. Do not underestimate one sincere sujood in the last 10 nights. It may weigh more than years of distracted worship. But there is a mistake many of us make. We rush out of suji. Even at night, we place our forehead did down. We say the required words, and then we rise quickly, as if we have somewhere more important to be. But think about this. If this is the closest position to Allah, why are we so quick to leave it? Why do we treat the moment of greatest closeness as a brief checkpoint? Sometimes the most powerful part of your prayer is not the long recitation. It is not the standing. It is the extra seconds you choose to remain in sujood after the required words are complete. Those seconds are yours. That space is yours. That whisper is yours. When you are overwhelmed, sujood is where you collapse safely. When you are grateful, sujood is where you express it fully. When you are confused, sujood is where clarity begins forming. There is a verse where Allah speaks about responding to the desperate one when he calls. The desperate one, the one who feels there is nowhere else to turn. And what position reflects desperation more honestly than sujood? When your face is on the ground, you are not pretending strength. You are admitting need. You are saying without words, I cannot do this alone. And that admission is powerful because Allah loves when his servant recognizes his need. Over time, something beautiful happens. If you stop rushing your sujood, it stops feeling like an obligation. It becomes relief. You begin to look forward to it. You begin to crave that moment when your forehead touches the ground because you associate it with unloading your burdens. You associate it with safety. You associate it with honesty. Ramadan accelerates this transformation. Hearts are softer. Sins feel heavier. Regret feels clearer. Hope feels closer. And in that state, sujood becomes medicine, but medicine only works when you allow it time. If you take it quickly and rush away, you do not absorb its benefit. Let your sujood last long enough for your heart to empty itself. Think about what you carry daily: unspoken fears, private struggles, silent guilt, hidden shame, unanswered questions. Where do these go? Many people carry them alone. Many people speak about them to others. Few people place them fully in sujood. When your forehead rests on the ground, imagine placing those burdens down. Imagine releasing control. Imagine surrendering the outcome. You are not weak for lowering yourself. You are wise because you are lowering yourself before the one who controls everything. There is something else that changes in long sujood. Time feels different. Minutes feel shorter. The world feels distant. And the heart feels exposed. Exposure can be uncomfortable, but it is also purifying because in sujood, you cannot hide from Allah, not your intentions, not your mistakes, not your fears. But that exposure is safe because He already knows, and yet He still invites you to come close. Allah is near, not distant, not unreachable, near, closer than you imagine. When you are in sujood, you are not speaking into emptiness. You are speaking to the one who hears the whisper before it is formed. You are speaking to the one who knows the pain before you describe it. You are speaking to the one who understands the confusion before you organize it into words. So do not rush. Do not treat sujood like a transition. Treat it like a doorway to closeness, a doorway to surrender, a doorway to reshaping your heart. Ramadan is not just a month of hunger, it is a season of nearness. And sujood is the point where that nearness is felt most intensely. When your body is fasting, when your ego is quieter, when your heart is softer, and your forehead is on the ground, you are positioned for transformation, not because of dramatic emotion, not because of loud crying, but because of sincerity. 3 things matter here: closeness, patience, consistency. Closeness is found in sujood. Consistency is proven by returning again and again, even when nothing seems to change. Do not measure your prayer by how fast your situation improves. Measure it by how often you choose to lower yourself sincerely. Measure it by how honest you become in that position. Measure it by how your heart softens over time. The world may still look the same when you rise. But if your heart is softer, something powerful has happened. If your arrogance is reduced, something powerful has happened. If your trust is stronger, something powerful has happened. Sujood is not about changing Allah's decree. It is about aligning your heart with it. It is about saying, I trust you. It is about saying, I surrender. It is about saying, you are enough for me. And the more you say that sincerely, the lighter your burdens become. Not because they disappear immediately, but because you are no longer carrying them alone. When you next enter Sujood in Ramadan, choose one moment to stay longer. Let the silence stretch. Let your breathing slow. Let your heart speak before your mind edits. Let your forehead remain long enough for your chest to feel lighter. There is a difference between finishing prayer and being transformed by it. That difference is often found in Sujood. Not rushed, not mechanical, but alive. And the one who learns to love Sujood learns to love returning again and again and again.